Welcome to science class. Today we are going to learn about alternative energy. Alternative to what? Fossil fuels. As I said in the last video, fossil fuels dominate the energy sector. The areas where we need the most energy are transportation, generating electricity, and manufacturing. Alternative energy can help us tackle the generating electricity part, but that's really it. The solar power car doesn't exist yet, neither does the nuclear car. Alternative energy is also not the same as renewable energy. Geothermal and nuclear power, which we will cover today, are non-renewable. And alternative doesn't mean green energy either. Nuclear power generates pollution, and although a wind turbine doesn't emit any pollution, the manufacturing of a wind turbine does. Don't get me wrong, I'm very excited about alternative and greener energy, but I will always try to give you the entire story. There are positives and negatives to everything. So, alternative energy then. Is it worth it? Let's get started. Actually, I'm not going to tell you if alternative energy is worth it. I'm just going to give you the facts and you get to decide. Today, we are going to cover solar, wind, hydroelectric, geothermal, and nuclear energy. But we need to review what we talked about last time just a tiny bit. Virtually all modern activities require energy, and making electricity is usually the type of energy we are looking for, although sometimes it's transportation. Fossil fuels have been our go-to method for making energy because they are cheap, plentiful, energy-dense, easy to transport, and reliable. Fossil fuels are used to either create mechanical power, such as what a car engine does by burning gasoline, or to make electricity in a roundabout sort of way, such as burning coal to make steam to eventually generate electricity. Alternative forms of energy are used almost exclusively for generating electricity, so our transportation needs are not yet satisfiable through alternative energy, which is a big deal. In 2018, transportation overtook generating electricity as the main producer of carbon dioxide in the United States for the first time ever. So in this video, keep in mind that almost all of these forms of energy are ways of producing electricity. Let's begin with solar power. The major benefits to solar power is that it's free after it's installed, it doesn't pollute, and usually requires very little maintenance. The drawbacks are that you can only utilize solar power at certain latitudes, in certain climates, and only at certain hours of the day. Solar panels contain what are called photovoltaic cells, which absorb sunlight, and through some wizardry that I don't understand, they create a constant, relatively weak current of electricity. Solar panels have gotten exponentially cheaper and more powerful over the decades, like computers have. Again, the problem with solar panels is that the sun doesn't always wait for us. The sun doesn't wait for us. The best hours of the day to use solar power are from 10 in the morning to 6 in the evening. The vast majority of this time, people are spending at work or school. Now, to be fair, a lot of things in your house would be using the electricity and you would be getting all of that for free. The fridge needs to always be running. Your air conditioning or heating is probably left on all day too. Solar mirrors can be used to generate electricity. Solar mirrors reflect light to a tower, which may be filled with water. The heat that these mirrors create boils the water, creating steam, which is used to spin a generator. Some households have big black boxes on the roof. These are solar collectors. The air inside gets hot, and that heat can be used for simple tasks like heating rooms or heating water, lessening the need for any electricity. Wind energy in the modern age is captured entirely by wind turbines. Wind turbine blades are shaped to catch the wind and create rotation. The inside of a wind turbine head contains an electric generator, which spins with the blades to make electricity. They're really very simple devices, apart from the fact that they are huge. Wind energy has been the fastest growing alternative energy method in the United States by far for the last several decades. The positive with wind energy is that the turbines don't have any emissions themselves. Drawbacks are that the wind is not constant. Also, the resources required to build the wind energy infrastructure are gigantic. It takes around 542 tons of iron and steel to produce a single megawatt of power from the wind. By comparison, it only takes 34 tons of iron and steel to produce the same amount of electricity from a coal plant, and it takes only about 5 tons for a natural gas plant. That's why transportable is one of the great strengths of fossil fuels. It allows you to bring in the energy-dense fossil fuels to the electricity generating site. Hydroelectric energy is a system of converting the potential energy of water into kinetic energy, which is used to drive turbines. This time, the velocity of the flowing water itself spins the turbines. No steam is made, unlike all other kinds of power plants. Most of the structure of a dam is just a wall to back the river up. River channels are widened excessively once the dam is built. Lake Mead really isn't a lake at all. Before the 1930s, it didn't even exist. Lake Mead is a reservoir created by the Hoover Dam. Once the Colorado River was dammed, the water behind the dam filled all the way up to the top of the dam. This made the river around 200 meters deeper behind the dam. Hydroelectric power is great because in many places the water always flows, so it has the reliability component that fossil fuels have. And the fuel, in the form of water, is delivered to you for free. Hydroelectric power has long been the dominating alternative energy producer, and it likely will continue to be so for at least a few more decades. The drawback is that we can only build so many dams. Hydroelectric output has been virtually static for the last 50 years in the United States. Worldwide, hydroelectric only accounts for around 6% of the total global electricity production. It could theoretically double its current capacity, but that's about it. Next up is geothermal. So, electric motors are really simple, but they do still need to move. Specifically, they need to spin or rotate. That's the only way to make electricity with them. Steam has a lot of kinetic energy, and we have enough water to make it, so steam is used to spin turbines, which in turn spin these generators. That's why coal and natural gas are burned, to boil water. Geothermal energy is the tapping of steam that naturally exists under the surface. Geothermal is great and fairly simple to operate, but it has some significant shortcomings. First of all, only 12 countries in the entire world have the capacity to generate more than 200 megawatts per second. The state of Texas alone produces over 3.5 times more electricity from wind turbines than the entire planet does from geothermal. Geothermal is also finite. Eventually, you run out of steam. You can try to prolong this by pumping water back into the ground, but it isn't a process that can go on forever. But some countries get a large share of their need for electricity from geothermal, so we cannot discount that. If it makes sense to build a geothermal plant somewhere, by all means, do it. The steam is naturally created from proximity to magma chambers or cooling igneous rocks relatively close to the surface. Iceland, a volcanic island nation, gets a good share of their electricity from geothermal. Geothermal can also be used for heating. The steam can be pumped into pipes that heat buildings from the ground up, reducing the need for electric or gas heaters. Finally, there's nuclear energy. Of all the alternative types of energy that we have talked about, nuclear is by far the most unfairly treated, least understood type of energy. It is also one of the types of alternative energy that is most like fossil fuels, meaning it has the same benefits. Let's actually get the misconceptions out of the way first. 1. Nuclear power plants do not bombard their surroundings with radiation. Human beings work in nuclear power plants, and they don't come home sprouting 3 arms and 12 eyeballs. Is the stuff inside a nuclear power plant radioactive? Yes, everything is radioactive to some degree. You are exposed to more radiation by standing next to another person than you are standing next to a nuclear power plant. The radiation is very well contained inside of special structures within the plant. 2. The type of uranium or thorium used in nuclear power plants cannot explode. It's impossible. Nuclear explosion is not an intrinsic property of uranium. You have to enrich and alter it significantly. Why do you think it cost billions of dollars and 4 years for the Los Alamos scientists to build the first atomic bomb? Because they were changing the fundamental nature of matter. Did an explosion happen at Chernobyl? Yes, it was an explosion caused by a combination of total incompetence and a buildup of too much steam. The uranium in the plant did not explode, it just got spread by the explosion. 3. Nuclear power is not intrinsically dangerous. Something like 41 people have been directly killed in nuclear power accidents in the entire history of humanity. 30 of them alone were killed from the Chernobyl explosion. People at the Fukushima plant died, but that's because they were struck by a tsunami. From the years 2003 to 2013, an average of 108 oil and gas industry workers died every year. More people die every year on average in those industries than have ever died in the entire history of the nuclear power plant industry. Now that we have that out of the way, how does a nuclear power plant work? The infrastructure of a nuclear power plant is extremely similar to a coal-burning power plant. The radioactive isotopes, which come in long bars called rods, get very hot because they are radioactive, and their heat boils water, making steam, which is used to spin turbines and spins and powers generators. What you see coming off of the cooling towers in nuclear plants is water steam, not radioactive waste flying into the air. Radioactive isotopes are incredibly energy dense. The energy density of anthracite coal is 38 megajoules per liter. Uranium's energy density is over 1.5 million megajoules per liter. And a 12-foot uranium rod can last 6 years in a power plant. Because these isotopes are solid, they are transportable and easy to manipulate, just like coal. Nuclear power actually produces almost 20% of the electricity in the United States. But our capacity to generate electricity with nuclear power has barely increased since the 1980s, when you know what happened. The real disadvantage to nuclear power, apart from the fact that people think it's dangerous, which isn't a real disadvantage, it's just something people think, is that a nuclear power plant is very expensive to build and maintain. However, if we started investing more in nuclear power, the cost of production and maintenance and build would go down. Next time, we're going to talk about human impact on the environment. Thanks for watching.